Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradha Hari Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Yamuna Tera Jaya Vishwapad Paramahamsa Ṛṣayaḥ Sota Sata Shishamachila Esi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya Vishwapad Paramahamsa Ṛṣayaḥ Sota Sata Shishamachila Bhakti Siranta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Kode Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Sirup Si Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sari Goswami Prabhu Ki Prem Se Gosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivajari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopa Gopi Gopinath Cham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mathura Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannathpuri Dham Ki Tulsi Maharani Bhakti Devi Ki Ganga Yamuna Devi Ki Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Sri Sri Gaunitaya Ki Sri Sri Krishna Balaram Ki Sri Sri Radha Shyama Sundar Ki Go Premanande Hare Hare Bol Samavita Bhakta Vrinda Ki all glories to the assembly devotees, all glories to the assembly devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, 5th chapter, text number 25. Labhante brahma-nirvāṇam ṛṣayaḥ kṣīṇa-kalmaṣāḥ chinna-dvaidhā yatātmānaḥ sarva-bhūta-hite ratāḥ labhante brahma-nirvāṇam ṛṣayaḥ kṣīṇa-kalmaṣāḥ chinna-dvaidhā yatātmānaḥ sarva-bhūta-hite ratāḥ labhante brahma-nirvāṇam ṛṣayaḥ kṣīṇa-kalmaṣāḥ chinna-dvaidhā yatātmānaḥ sarva-bhūta-hite ratāḥ Mataji's labhante achieve brahma-nirvāṇam liberation in the Supreme ṛṣayaḥ, those who are active within. kṣīṇa-kalmaṣāḥ, who are devoid of all sins. Chinna, having torn off. Dvaidhāḥ, duality. Yata-ātmānaḥ, engaged in self-realization. Sarva-bhūta, for all living entities. Hite, in welfare work. Ratāḥ, engaged. Translation of Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Purport. Only a person who is fully in Kṛṣṇa consciousness can be said to be engaged in welfare work for all living entities. When a person is actually in the knowledge that Kṛṣṇa is the fountainhead of everything, then when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. The sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Kṛṣṇa as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. Therefore, to act, to revive this consciousness within the entire human society is the highest welfare work. One cannot be engaged in such first-class welfare work without being liberated in the Supreme. A Kṛṣṇa conscious person has no doubt about the supremacy of Kṛṣṇa. Is no doubt because he is completely freed from all sins. This is the state of divine love. A person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot factually help anyone. Temporarily, a relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. The real cause of one's difficulties in the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. When a man is fully conscious of his relationship with Kṛṣṇa, he is actually a liberated soul, although he may be in the material tabernacle. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrudatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Devam Sri Ratāḥ Kṛṣṇa Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishagandvitamscha He Kṛṣṇa Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Kavika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Datta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshari Vrishabhano Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare labhante brahma-nirvāṇam ṛṣayaḥ kṣīṇa-kalmaṣāḥ chinna-dvaidhā yatātmānaḥ sarva-bhūta-hite ratāḥ. Those are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts. Those whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Kṛṣṇa is explaining the position of a pure devotee. The pure devotees are fully absorbed in Kṛṣṇa. They're thinking about Kṛṣṇa, they're speaking, they're hearing about Kṛṣṇa, they're serving Kṛṣṇa with all the senses. They're constantly engaged in the devotional service of Sri Kṛṣṇa. And therefore, they're feeling transcendental pleasure. And here in this verse, Kṛṣṇa is saying, sarva-bhūta-hite ratāḥ. That these devotees, they're always engaged in the welfare work for others. Sarva-bhūta-hite ratāḥ. And Prabhupada is explaining in the purport about this point. Kṛṣṇa is very satisfied if one is engaged in the devotional service. But is most satisfied if a devotee is trying to help others also. Is giving this knowledge to others by distributing books, or by speaking about the philosophy, or by telling others to chant holy names, which is the Yuga Dharma, or even by distributing prasadam to others. The devotee of the Lord is not simply satisfied by himself being engaged in devotional service. Of course, satisfaction may be there by serving Kṛṣṇa, and then in the loving exchange there is great satisfaction. But the genuine devotee, then he will try to help others also. He will try to give this happiness to others. Srila Prabhupada many times has explained that there are two kinds of devotees, the Goshtyanandi and the Bhajananandi. Goshtyanandi is a devotee who is giving this Kṛṣṇa consciousness to others. And the Bhajananandi is a devotee who is simply engaged in doing his bhajan, chanting the holy names, in loving exchange with Kṛṣṇa. So he's taking pleasure in that, in his own bhajan. But and Prabhupada has explained, the devotee who is engaged in giving this Kṛṣṇa consciousness to others, he is superior, Goshtyanandi. So usually we also speak about Ishta Goshti, that coming together and discussing about the Ishtadev, about the Lord of our heart, Prananath. So the one who is trying to increase in the society, in this material world, the number of devotees, by giving Kṛṣṇa consciousness, he's superior. Also Kṛṣṇa has explained in the Bhagavad Gita that one, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, one who is giving the knowledge to others, which I have just explained to you, my dear Arjuna, so he is most dear to me, he is the best of all devotees. So therefore Srila Prabhupada He established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness so that the fallen conditioned souls, they can take shelter, they can start practicing devotional life, so they can make more advancement in Krishna consciousness. But then he wanted the devotees to distribute this knowledge to others. He wanted, therefore he printed so many books, and he wanted the devotees to distribute these books on a daily basis. Once he had started the movement in New York, then Srila Prabhupada, he had the Bhagavad Gita printed, and of course the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then other books also one by one. And then he had the devotees distribute these books. And he was stressing very much that it is pleasing to me if you distribute my books. Following the instructions of the spiritual master, that is a must. And the spiritual master is very merciful. And if he sees the disciple engaged in devotional service, he is naturally happy. But then if they do any service he may do, and even Krishna is appreciating any service of his devotees. But if one is trying to give this knowledge to others, that is very pleasing to the spiritual master, that is very pleasing to Kṛṣṇa. As far as one is able to. Also Srila Prabhupada has indicated here, what is actually most important is that we are properly situated on the transcendental plane, beyond the modes of material nature. If one is engaged in pure devotional service, then Kṛṣṇa is fully satisfied, the spiritual master is fully satisfied. And as indicated by Prabhupada in the Purport, if one is properly situated on the transcendental plane, then actually is truly able to help others. If one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, but is not yet fully realized, then he can only to some extent help others. But even that, of course, that is appreciated. Because whatever we're doing, even a little bit for Krishna's pleasure, that is appreciated. But the more we are able to advance and the more we are able to distribute to others, the more Krishna will be satisfied, the spiritual master will be satisfied. So first of all, we have to try to be properly situated on the transcendental platform. And then as indicated by Prabhupada, that whatever one is doing, that will be giving pleasure to Krishna, and that is also for the benefit of others. For example, even in the temple, many devotees are there. Some are in the kitchen cooking for the deities or cooking for the devotees, and the new bhaktas are cleaning the temple. So many activities are there. And under the direction of the spiritual master, if one is engaged in any activity, if one is conscious of his position, that I am the eternal servant of Kṛṣṇa, and if with all humility and being very tolerant and very respectful, if one is engaged in one's service, that will give pleasure to Guru and Kṛṣṇa. And that is then also for the benefit of others. So just like Prabhupada used to give the example, and when there is a war, and so the soldiers in the front were fighting with the enemy, they're very glorious. But actually then everyone who is helping those who are in the backup service, who are cooking for the soldiers, and if the soldier is wounded, those who are then taking care of the wounded soldier, they're all important, and they're all contributing. And if they win the war, then everyone is actually to be given the credit. But of course, usually those who are in the front, they're more glorified. So similarly in devotional service, those who are preaching Krishna consciousness and those who are distributing books, and they are most glorified. But anyone who is doing any seva, backup seva also, they're also contributing. Otherwise, if nobody is cooking for the Lord or worshipping the Lord and cooking for the book distributors, for the preachers, then things will not go on. So, by the combined effort of all the devotees, success will be there. Therefore, any devotee's service has to be appreciated. And in the ultimate sense also, that we can practically see, that the Goshthiyanandi, although Prabhupada is saying that is superior to the Bhajananandi, but ultimately if the purity is there, then there's no difference between the Goshthiyanandi and Bhajananandi. Just like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's spiritual master, Gaukishodas Babaji Maharaj. So he was simply absorbed in doing his bhajan. And he was actually a simple person. First he was householder, having a little business. So not very knowledgeable or educated in a material point of view. But he understood that we have to surrender to Krishna, and he gave up everything. And he resided in Navadvip. And he developed his love towards Krishna to the highest extent. So much so that Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada so accepted him as his spiritual master. Although first Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, he wanted to take initiation from his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was a great scholar, great preacher, very practical person, doing so much, printing so many books and distributing. But then his father told him, no, you should take initiation from Gaur-Kishodas Babaji. Because at that time there were many caste Goswamis, and although they may not have been fully Krishna conscious, but then they were initiating, and then the sons, when they grow up, they also become Acharya. They get the title Goswami or Acharya, and then they also initiate, although they may not be on the highest level of pure devotional service. But still, as a general devotee, we respect them, but then we should understand that ultimately the devotees who are on the highest level, they are empowered to really help others to the fullest extent, so they may also advance very nicely. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he didn't want to continue with that as others were doing, that I'm Acharya, my son should also be Acharya. So therefore he told his son, you take shelter of Gaur-Kishodas Babaji, who is my friend. They were good friends. But Gaur-Kishore also had so much respect for Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because he was elder and because he was a great scholar and empowered to write books and distribute books, to give knowledge. And Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, so he approached him, and first Gaur-Kishore was not inclined, because he saw and he knew that Bimal Prasad, that was the name given by his father, he was very scholarly, great scholar. But Bimal Prasad, he had to follow the order of his father, who was also practically still his Shiksha Guru, giving instructions, guidance. And then Gaur-Kishore, first he was declining, but he was begging and begging. And then one day he was saying, all right, I will ask Mahaprabhu. And then Bimal Prasad said, okay. And then again he came after 1 week or 10 days, and he asked Kishore Das, Babaji Maharaj, you have asked Mahaprabhu? Ask Mahaprabhu what? About my initiation. If you should give. And Kishore Das said, oh, I forgot to ask him. Anyhow, we'll ask him. And Bhima Prasad said, all right. And again he came after 1 week or 10 days, and he asked him again. And then Kishore Das Babaji humbly said, yes, Mahaprabhu told me to initiate you, so I will initiate you. And then he said, your name will be Vrishabhanu Daita Devi Das. Vrishabhanu Devi Daita. So Vrishabhanu Devi is Srimati Radharani, and Daita is the beloved of Srimati Radharani. So the daughter of Vrishabhanu Maharaj. So then he was doing his bhajan. So he was a great soul also, although he was Goshtian and he was just doing his bhajan. But then he was, sometimes people also used to come him, not only Bimal Prasad or Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada later on. But that also used to come, and he used to give some instruction, but he was not making an endeavor to give Krishna consciousness to others. But a pure devotee, whatever he's doing, is for pleasure of the Lord, and that is for the benefit of others. Just like about the gopis, it is mentioned also in the 10th canto. Uddhav, very dear friend of Kṛṣṇa, very dear friend. They were related also. Krishna's family. And he was the prime minister of Kṛṣṇa when Kṛṣṇa was in Dwarka. As the emperor Dwarkadish of Dwarka. He was the prime minister. Very intelligent. And Haridasyavaya is known as the best of the servants of Hari. Outside of Braj is the greatest of the servants of Hari. So he was sent to Braj when Krishna was in Mathura actually. And he was sent to Braj to give message to the Brijbasis, especially to the gopis, to console them after Krishna had left Yashodanandan. And then he saw the love of the Brijbasis, Nanda Bhavi Yashoda, and he understood that my love is nothing in comparison to his, to theirs. And then he met the gopis, and he saw that they are the most exalted. Vande Nandavraja Strinam Padarenum Abhikṣṇaṣa Yasam Hari Katot Kita Punati Puvanatrayam is offering obeisances to the gopis of Braj. Vande Nandavraja Strinam, the damsels of Braj. I offer my obeisances to them. Padarenum Abhikṣṇaṣa. I want to take the dust of the lotus feet and bathe myself with that. So we know we should take the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotees, the spiritual master. Yasam Hari Katod Gitam Punati Bhuvanatrayam. When they are glorifying Kṛṣṇa, Krishna's pastimes, that is purifying the three worlds. So the gopis, they were not going out of Braj, and they were not distributing books. They were not telling others, you are not this body, you are spirit soul. Engage in devotional service. No. They were simply loving Kṛṣṇa, and they were discussing amongst themselves about Krishna's wonderful qualities, Krishna's wonderful pastimes. And so Uddhav, he was seeing that this is actually purifying the three worlds. So Gaur Kishore Babaji, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, who is also Gopi in Krishna Lila. So when he was saying Hare Krishna, he was glorifying the gopis, that he was purifying the three worlds. So then ultimately, from the absolute point of view, there's no difference between a Goshtyanandi and Bhajananandi. A real Goshtyanandi, by his every act, as explained by Prabhupada, is actually acting for the benefit of others. And similarly, the Goshtyanandi who is preaching, he's also doing bhajan, he's also Bhajananandi. Because, as explained here, if one is not properly situated and properly engaged on a transcendental plane, and then properly doing bhajan, then he cannot do preaching. He cannot really preach. So real Goshtyanandi is a Bhajananandi, and real Bhajananandi is also Goshtyanandi. So ultimately there's no difference. But still, the Acharyas have explained in Prabhupada that if one is trying to give Krishna consciousness to others, he's accepted as superior. Just like all the devotees of Krishna and Braj, they have love for Krishna. They are all pure devotees of Krishna, the Brijvasis. But then, if we do some comparative study, and the Acharyas have explained that the friends of Krishna are superior than the simple servants of Braj. And Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba are superior than the friends of Krishna. And then the gopis are even more superior than Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba. And even amongst the gopis, so 5 kinds of gopis are there. And they all have love for Krishna, and there's a wonderful loving exchange. But still, so there are the ordinary gopis are there, the Sakis, and then the Nitya Sakis, the Prana Sakis, then the Priya Sakis, and then Paramprishta Sakis. And amongst all the most exalted gopis, foremost are 2, Chandravali and Srimati Radharani. And amongst the 2, Srimati Radharani, she is most superior. So although they all have pure love for Krishna, and so therefore they are all properly situated and to be respected, but still, if we make some study, according to their transcendental love, in loving exchange with Krishna, the gopis are superior. So, so that is here the main point which Krishna also is making here, that those who are properly situated, they're always engaged in the welfare work of others. They're not just thinking about themselves. And the other symptoms which are mentioned here, so that is understood that they're completely free from all sins, because they are properly situated. And there is no question that the pure devotee will perform any sinful activity. There's no question that the devotee who is on the highest stage, that he will do one offense, aparad, towards Krishna or Krishna's devotees. That is not possible. So their mind is always engaged within, engaged in Krishna, thinking about Krishna and things related to Krishna. And there is no question in their mind, in their minds regarding Krishna being the Supreme Lord or the object of their love. So they are beyond the duality of this material world. They are beyond the 3 modes of material nature. So Prabhupada then is making a point here just to explain also for the ordinary person, because many times you can see ordinary persons, they will so to say encourage others to do some welfare work in terms of giving clothes to others who are in need, or giving food to others who are in need, which is all right, but ultimately there's no permanent benefit of that. There's some temporary relief from the miseries there, But that is ultimately useless, as Prabhupada is explaining, as we understand also. Just like if a person is drowning, is there with the cloth, and another person is coming, try to rescue, and then if is able to manage to take, if he's there drowning with his cloth, if he's able to take the t-shirt or something of the drowning man, and if he's saying, I saved the person. No, he just has the t-shirt in the hand. What is the use? The man is drowning. So if one is giving some cloth or some food to a person in this material world, that is to not much benefit, that is only very temporary benefit. But the soul is not benefited, the Atma, the self, is not benefited. Only by giving Kṛṣṇa consciousness, only by giving knowledge to the conditioned soul that you are not this body, you are spirit soul. You should engage in spiritual activities. Then that is a real help. And then, if one is accepting that, and is trying to advance in spiritual life, then you will be able to be really benefit, and he will come closer to Kṛṣṇa, and then he may be able to realize his actual relationship with Kṛṣṇa. And then automatically all the material needs will be fulfilled. As Kṛṣṇa is saying, Bhagavad Gita also, that to those who are constantly engaged in my service, to them I give what they have, what they need, and I preserve what they have. Ananyas-chintan tamam yajanapaya bhashate teshtam nityavayuktanam yoga kshemam vahamyaham. If one is constantly engaged in devotional service, then Kṛṣṇa will help in every way. He will help so that he can make more and more advancement to the highest stage of pure devotional service. And also if there's some need in regards to where to stay, and in regards to getting the necessities of life, something to eat, or some cloth, or even some medical help, ultimately Kṛṣṇa will arrange. He himself, or through his devotees, he will help. And just like a child, he doesn't have to take care of his needs. He's not even worried about that, but the parents, they will take care of everything, of the needs of the child, in every way. Not only the place to stay, or the cloth, and the eating, but especially also the education. And one must be educated, the child must be educated. Similarly also the jiva, the soul, the spirit soul, has to be educated. He has to be taught what to do and what not to do, and primarily to engage in spiritual activities with Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Lord, in the center. And once one has obtained that good fortune of understanding one's actual spiritual identity, and if one is engaged in spiritual activities, then it is actually everyone's duty then, and it is actually also natural that one will want to give to others also. One will feel grateful. I'm so fortunate to have this Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Let me give that to others also. It is natural that one will want to do that. But then according to one's situation also, so some are more capable or more inclined to do practical preaching work. If one is in a male body, it is easier to go around and give Kṛṣṇa consciousness to others. If one is in a female body, staying, is at home, is married, has children, then one can do less. But if one has the proper consciousness and doing one's duty nicely, then the Lord will reciprocate, and one will also be able to advance very nicely. If the wife is helping the husband who is spreading Kṛṣṇa consciousness, and she's taking care of the family, then she will be also benefited. It is mentioned the wife will get half of the husband's spiritual activities, the benefit of half. So therefore the main focus should be on trying to perform one's duty given by the spiritual master, the authority, very nicely, and try to be absorbed on the transcendental plane and do everything for the pleasure of Guru Gauranga Kṛṣṇa, not expecting anything in return. Anyabhilashita sunyam jnana karma navritam anukulina Kṛṣṇa nuchiranam bhakti ruttamam. That Rupa Goswami has explained. So we should try our best according to one's ability, capacity to give Krishna consciousness to others. So today is a very auspicious day. So Prabhupada took sannyas on this day in Mathura from his brother, from his god brother Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And because it was the desire of his spiritual master, because his spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, he wanted to preach Krishna consciousness all over the world. That was the desire of his father, as was the desire of Mahaprabhu. So then Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, he recognized our Prabhupada to be a perfect candidate to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So the first meeting already told him, "You are an educated person. You should try to give Gauravani, Mahaprabhu's message to others, especially to English-speaking persons." So because Prabhupada knew English, he was he was educated in English language. And then even before Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada left, the same instruction he gave him. As Prabhupada had written him a letter, "What seva can I do for you?" He repeated the same. You try to give this Krishna consciousness to the English-speaking persons. And so then Prabhupada, of course, it was a lifetime of preparation. Then on this auspicious day, so he had renounced family life, he stayed in Vrindavan, and then he stayed in Mathura in his godbrother's mat, and on this day he took sannyas. And so sannyas, that is a great help for preaching Krishna consciousness. But the sannyasis, they should be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. That is the first qualification of a sannyasi, is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness within. And then he will try to give to others. And so, as soon as he took sannyas, after that he went to Agra, and he stayed next to the Taj Mahal. Because even at that time, so Taj Mahal was, or is even now, one of the 7 world wonders. So Westerners, they were coming there. So he stayed right next to the Taj Mahal. And he was doing some preaching and distributing some magazines, as already at that time he had printed Back to Godhead. So Prabhupada, pure devotee of the Lord, empowered, and so sarva-bhūta-hite ratāḥ, that was Prabhupada's focus was there, to give this Krishna consciousness to others, to give, to be busy working for the welfare of all living beings. And as we know, then he went to the West, and by Prabhupada's mercy, which is ultimately Krishna's mercy, then Krishna consciousness spread, starting from New York, all over America, then all over Europe, and then back to India, and then all over the world. And by his mercy we are here, and we are able to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And then we should try to give Krishna consciousness to others also. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. So here we have some Mahaprasad for everyone also.
पहले महाप्रसाद बांटा करो फिर लेक्चर दिया।
क्यों?
तो ज़्यादा अच्छा लगेगा। पहले महाप्रसाद बांटा करो फिर लेक्चर दिया, उसमें क्या लेक्चर अंदर जाएगा सीधा।